Fox News anchor Bret Baier, host of Special Report. Good Thursday to you, Bret. How are you?
Hey, Hugh. Doing well.
I need to ask you about the Blue Bank bailout. I had on Ro Khanna last hour, and Ro's a good guy, and he's a liberal, a socialist, actually. He will come on and talk about things. And he defends the Blue Bank bailout. Trish Regan came on and defended the Blue Bank bailout. I kind of am persuaded we needed to do it, but what do you hear on the other side of the issue, Bret?
Well, the other side of the issue is that, by going as far as they went, by shoring up all deposits beyond the traditional, or where it's set at $250,000, you essentially give carte blanche to bank management that has put them in bad spots. I mean, basically what happened here is that they made some bad bets, and they didn't hedge any of those bets, and for that, they get rescued. And what signal does that send to other people who may manage that way? And we may see more, stupid moves like that.
Yeah, Bret, what I see in Silicon Valley is a culture of indifference to common sense. And we look at the Theranos case, we look at Sam Bankman-Fried, and now we look at the details of SVB, which are in the Journal today. They were reckless in their lending, like SBF was reckless in his stealing and Theranos was reckless in their fraud. Do you think there's a Silicon Valley dismissal of traditional norms?
I mean, that argument definitely could be made, Hugh. And, and there are other people on Capitol Hill, obviously Republicans, saying if this was a big bank in Texas that had farmers' money, would it have that much emergency response? Those are fair questions. I think the bigger issue is, the policy of throwing money at things and spending like the administration did at the beginning. Arguably, you go back to that, and inflation starts in earnest and really hits in June at 9%. And then now we're putting tons more money into the sloshing of liquidity of banks. What is that going to do to inflation going forward?
And dialing back interest rate hikes, I guess. Jerome Powell's afraid he's going to put too many banks under if he raises money anymore.
Yeah, but if he doesn't do what he said he was going to do, inflation is going to stick around at a very high level for a very long time.
Oh, no, we're in the 70s. You're too young to remember Jimmy Carter. I had to get my first job when Jimmy Carter was president. It was a nightmare. Let me ask you about presidential campaigns. There is a story this morning, Bret, in the Daily Beast, and they're very left of center, and it's by Jake LaHutte and Zachary Patrizio, and they're good reporters, but the GOP cam trail is already getting DeSantis proofed. It's a full-on attack on Ron DeSantis as being antisocial and demanding, like green M&Ms in the green room sort of stuff. And I think it's unfair, and I do think a general attack on DeSantis is kind of coalescing. What do you see out there? Do you see that there's a general attack on DeSantis underway?
I do see that, and I do see that a number of candidates and prospective candidates are trying to create a lane, right? I do think that Governor DeSantis maybe opened himself for some foreign policy questions with his answers on Ukraine, and that may create a lane for some of the candidates who believe that, robust foreign policy includes funneling money into Ukraine so they can fight the fight against Russia. So I do see that there are efforts to go after DeSantis. On the social front, it does scratch an itch with a lot of voters, but the question is whether you go too far in some of the moves, and the Disney move comes under scrutiny by some.
Now, what they're going after in this piece is that they're suggesting he's got no people skills, that he's remote, standoffish. First of all, if you've got Casey DeSantis, you don't have to be particularly the biggest light in the room. But secondly, it's not been my experience that that's the case. And I've interviewed him a couple dozen times over the years. I think Ron DeSantis is a typically normal elected center-right conservative.
Yeah, I think that's right. I moderated his debate in the primary against Adam Putnam, and arguably he did fine, but he ended up winning that race over a candidate that was well supported. I think that you're right. His wife is a big bonus for him. He's not the traditional work of the room kind of guy. He does have great answers and great speeches, but he's not the automatic guy that's going to ask everybody in the room what they think about the economy, and so it's a little different. I will say that I have not interviewed him, even though I have requested every other week. So I don't know the decision-making process about the interviews, but I know you're not an easy interview, so he should be welcome on Special Report anytime.
Well, I haven't talked to him since October. I'm reading his new book, The Courage to Be Free, and I think if people have read The Courage to Be Free, the DeSantis quote given to Tucker Carlson makes a lot more sense. And that book obviously dropped before Tucker asked the question, so people need to read the book to get the DeSantis rundown. But I do sense that some of our friends on the left side of the spectrum, you're in the center and I'm on the right, but some of our friends on the left are attempting to preemptively knock him out because they want Trump to be the nominee. It's 100%. Sort of on a grand scale what they did in Pennsylvania and New Hampshire, they being Democrats, and very shrewd, very legal, by nominating the weakest candidate. They want to take DeSantis off the board. Do you see a little of that?
I do definitely see that. I mean, there are multiple segments now on other channels that are somehow comparing DeSantis's moves with books and schools to Nazism. I mean, you heard the second gentleman make this link between school parents arguing about their children's, education to Nazi talk, and it's just bizarre. But they are trying to link him to the extreme side on social issues, whereas, if you read all of the proposals and the stuff that he's doing, there was never a don't say gay, and we've gone over this. It was, it's simple if you read it and you understand it, but if you demagogue it and you throw it up against the wall, you're trying to make a difference.
You pound that drum again. Let me close with this. One senator told me we need another Reagan. We need a happy warrior. Is Ron DeSantis happy enough, Brett? You go out to the Ronald Reagan Forum every year. David Trulio, the brand new head of the Reagan Foundation, announced yesterday. That's big news as the new CEO out in Simi Valley. So you'll be seeing when you do the Reagan Forum every year. And David's a friend of yours and a friend of mine. And we were talking about Reagan. He's a happy warrior. Do you think Ron DeSantis is a happy warrior?
I think he could be happier, but I think he is potentially. I do think that there is this hunger for a Reagan figure, and people are interpreting his words on Ukraine as not what Reagan would do. But if you look back, getting to a peaceful solution, peace through strength, really was Reagan's message. So I think people have to be careful about how they characterize things without the candidate himself talking about it. But I think he
Amen. The more that he does, I can't believe he hasn't been on Special Report yet. The more that he does, the better off he is, because this narrative is building on the left. Bret Baier, always a pleasure. I got to warn you, I was at Dick Hauser's 80th birthday party on Friday night, and he wants strokes now that he's 80, and don't fall for that. Don't.
I'm giving him too many strokes already.
Yeah, okay, that's it. Good. Just wanted to warn you that he's going to use his age card. Just do not do it. Bret Baier, always good to talk to you.